Well, it's great to be with you. Love getting back home in Georgia. I've been living in Memphis 5.5 years, but if anybody ever asks where I'm from, I always say I live in Memphis, but from Georgia. Lived there 40 years, so I'm glad to be back home. Good to be with you today. And really appreciate your support for the National Cotton Council. I always like to reiterate this when I'm in a commissioned state. Georgia's a commissioned state. A portion of the dollar that you give to support Georgia Cotton Commission, a portion of that comes to support the National Cotton Council. And we cannot be successful without your support. All the items I'm going to talk about here today are achievements that we've had over the last couple of years. It's been a tough year, tough economic situation for everybody in this room if you farm cotton. We know that. But we've had some successes with the economic assistance package, with the American Relief Act, but also this big, beautiful bill. It's going to really get our policy situation a lot better situation that we've had the last few years, and that's all a credit to support that you give us to be able to operate and work on your behalf in Washington and in Memphis. The producer segment, which I staff, is the largest segment of the council, so about 80%. We have a board, the American Cotton Producers, which is a grower board within the council structure. There are two Georgians on that board. Lee Crumley from Bullitt County is here in the room, and Matt Cody. I don't know if Matt's here or not, from Dooley County. He's also on that board as well. So you're very well represented within the council from Georgia. So I'm going to start kind of talking about the economic situation that we're in now. I mean, how did we get to where we are today? I mean, there's no doubt we're in a situation with low market prices, high production costs. I'm going back here to 2018. That was the last farm bill that was currently under we're still under this current farm bill. We kind of have some changes now with the big, beautiful bill. But since that time, world cotton mill use has declined by over 1.2 million bales during that same period. But these next two, I think, are the big challenge that we have as an industry. We have put together a strategic task force within the council to tackle these challenges for our competitiveness as cotton as an industry. Look at what Chinese polyester has done since 2018 and 19. Now, it's slowed some because of de minimis going away from China. But nearly 35.5 million bales of Chinese polyester, most of that coming in through de minimis. That's not paying any sort of tariff on polyester coming to the U.S. The old de minimis law from China, $800 or less. Package did not have to be inspected at customs, so that is where a lot of that polyester is coming in those packages. Brazil, look at what Brazil has done. Brazil is now the largest producer of cotton in the world. Well, not in the world, but the largest exporter of cotton in the world. They have surpassed U.S. cotton in production. They have doubled their production since 2018. They've grown by over 9 million bales over that period of time. And Australia has also increased their production as well. 1.9 million bales during that period of time, and that has led to a greater decline in our export share. So that's something we've got to tackle as the industry, and we're trying to do that through the council. One of the things that we're working on that's been a challenge for growers is input cost since 2018. Everything's up. I mean, we've seen that since COVID. Everything has skyrocketed to a very, very high level. But things that have really skyrocketed, operating interest, 160% almost through that same period of time since 2018. Custom services up, doubled during that same period. Fertilizer nearly doubled during that same period. Chemicals, seed, fertilizers is up. So negative pressures on the market, high input costs have put growers underwater and not in a good financial situation. This is the third year we have seen this happening to growers. So basically, and from a policy standpoint, we've got to get demand up. We all know that. We're working on that. Cotton Incorporated is working on that. Cotton Board's working on it. We're working on it. But we had to get our policies, Farm Bill, economic assistance programs, crop insurance. That had to be more reflective of this economic situation. And frankly, until about July the 4th, it was not. So cotton producers are facing higher prices for most production inputs based on harvest yields. I mean, no doubt that this 2025 per pound costs are 1/3 higher than 2018. Financial situation of U.S. cotton farmers continues to deteriorate as the Farm Bill safety net and current market prices are well below cost of production. And many growers have suffered deep losses in 23 crop, 24 crop, and that's going to continue, looks like, for 25. But this is the issue we have from a policy standpoint, particularly on the cotton reference price. So that blue line on the second sheet there is that long straight blue line is the 36.7 reference price that we were operating under coming into this crop year. The light blue graph is production cost levels, and the green line is the marking year average price for cotton, for seed cotton in this example. You know, we had higher production costs in 18, 19 that were higher than the market year average price, but if you look at that blue line there, we had a good safety net that could catch growers and help them withstand that market situation. We came out of COVID, and you all heard about the V-shaped curve. I mean, market prices stood up. There was built up demand. So the cotton price really jumped. But when that cooling off period happened and the market year average price declined, production costs continued to accelerate, and they continue to accelerate today. And what we faced was, if you look at the market year average price relative to the reference price, a very short, small safety net, not near what it needed to be relative to the current production cost environment. So that had to change. And so back in August of 2022, the ACP, which I staffed, developed a farm policy task force to talk about what do we need to do in this farm bill to help growers get the safety net more in line. And the number one priority was increasing the reference price, getting that to a more higher level relative to production costs, getting stacks, where a grower could do stacks. If he planted cotton where he had seed cotton base acres, you can't enroll that base acres in PLC and also purchase stacks if you plant cotton. We need to be allowed producers to do both. And also we need to get our loan rate increased to a more reputable level that had not been increased in 2022. The loan rate had been 52 cents all the way since 2002. That had to be at a better level moving forward. That's what our priorities were. But it was going to take more money. We've been operating, Congress has been operating in pay-go for a long time. And any time we've had a farm bill going back to 08, 14, and 18, any kind of additional safety nets enhancements we've had to cut money to pay for it. And we cannot do that anymore. We had to have an infusion into the cotton safety net this time to get growers through this hard time. We were in a meeting back in July at Southern Cotton Growers last year. Congressman Austin Scott was at that meeting, and growers put some hard realities to him. We had bankers in the room talking about the dire situation that growers face from an economic standpoint, and the current environment of increasing the safety net by cutting. Where we're going to find the cuts, we couldn't do that anymore. We had to have an enhancement. The House Ag Committee last year passed a bill to put $70 million in new spending for cotton in the last Congress, but they didn't have it paid for. So we had to figure out how to get that done. So I'm going to take you back in time a little bit here. 2002. I'm going to tell you why I'm talking about 2002 here in a second. But 2002 was hard to believe 23 years ago. I was in college at the time, but I was state at the time. But there's some things that are kind of similar here. George W. Bush back in 2002 coined the phrase the axis of evil. He talked about the state sponsors of terror after 9/11, Iran, Iraq, North Korea as sponsors of terror. Some of that, kind of sounds like today. I mean, Iran, North Korea, there's some allegations about sponsors of terrorism, nuclear weapons. That kind of sounds similar. The next slide, I thought this was a lot more recent, but in 2002, Fox started a show called American Idol. This was the very first year that they had this show. It was a dramatic success. That's the first winner over there. So that was a big deal, that show. And that's still been successful today. On the bottom left line, I thought this was a long time ago, prior to 2002, but the New England Patriots were in the playoffs and they never won a Super Bowl. They had the quarterback at the time was Drew Bledsoe. Late in the season, he got hurt, and they put in this backup quarterback who was a sixth rounder from the University of Michigan named Tom Brady. He led the Patriots to their first Super Bowl, and as they say, the rest is history. And also, I've shown this presentation 3 times. In the bottom right corner, I should get a friendly audience here on this one, but in 2002, Georgia won their first SEC championship in 20 years. since Herschel Walker was running on the field for Georgia. So that's David Pollock there in 2002. But the reason I'm saying that, 2002 was the last year we had a farm bill that enhanced the safety net, gave us $51.7 billion in new money for the commodity and crop insurance titles. So that's what we had to have. And I will tell you, on November the 5th of 2024, we hit an inside straight in the election. President Trump was elected. The Republicans kept the House by a very narrow majority, which allowed the Republicans to hold the House, Senate, and White House. The reason we have not been able to get these changes done on getting new money is because of the filibuster in the Senate. You know, we could have passed a farm bill last year through the House on a partisan basis that would have cut money, probably out of SNAP, that would have kind of passed, but it would not have got through the Senate because of 60 votes. When President Trump was elected and the Republicans had the House and Senate, they wanted to do something called budget reconciliation, which basically means any policy initiative through passage of a budget that has a budgetary impact can get through with a simple majority in the House and the Senate and get to the White House. So that's what happened with the Big Beautiful Bill, and that was signed into law on July the 4th that put us in place where we need to be as far as our safety net. We got $69 billion in new money. 59 of that $69 billion went to enhancement in Title I commodities and crop insurance. So a big, big win for all of us in that. So that's kind of a breakdown in that. $59 billion, $65.6 billion new money. So a big, big improvement in ARP, PLC, and crop insurance moving forward. So what does the One Big Beautiful Bill do? So it provides a significant increase in the seed cotton reference price from 36.7 to 42 cents. That begins with the 2025 crop. And beginning with 2031 crop, that reference price will increase 0.5% with a 113% cap, starting with 2031. Just this crop year, growers will get the higher of ARC or PLC for no matter what you chose. If you chose ARC for corn, PLC for cotton, PLC for peanuts, ARC for soybeans, you're going to get whatever the higher of the two, no matter what you chose. Now next year you're going to have to choose again, 26 crop. This is 1 year you're going to get the higher of. One of the biggest question we have gotten since this has passed and been signed into law: will FSA allow growers who purchase stacks for 2025 crop to enroll in PLC? I can tell you we're working, that's going to be my number one priority through implementation, is to make sure that if you chose stacks, obviously you may have made a different decision if you knew the reference price was going to be 42 cents versus 36.7. Can you get into PLC? And we're going to be working very hard on that. We've already met with RMA about some options on that, but we're working on that. That's one of our top priorities to get this done. We're also not giving up hope for economic assistance for 25 crop. Obviously, we're very concerned about the possible impacts of reciprocal tariffs beginning on August the 1st. We're going to see what that looks like. We're hopeful that if there are some damaging impacts, USDA will do an MFP type program. If you recall from the first Trump tariff that was put in place, it's very, very good for cotton. That's going to be a priority, trying to get something like that. If not, we can't get that. We want to push for an advancement on the PLC payment for the 25 crop. Maybe get an advancement on that PLC payment, because you all know that first payment with new reference price won't come into place till October of 26, to allow you to get an advance on that PLC payment, maybe the first quarter of next year, and then you get the rest of it in October. So that's something we're looking at. This also includes a one-time base allocation of new base acres, capped at 30 million acres. So if you have a farm that you are planting covered commodities on that does not have base acres, you will have an opportunity beginning in 2026 to up those base acres proportionally to your 19 to 23 planted acres. Also, if you are planting more acres of covered commodities, more than the base you have on that farm, you're also going to get the same opportunity to update that base beginning next year. Those new base acres are capped at 30 million acres moving forward. 19 and 23 plantings, correct.
You'll be able to build base acres, or changing what you already have?
You'll be able to build base acres if you have if you're planting more base acres and you have covered commodities on the farm, you also be able to build base acres if you have a planting on a farm that has no base, you're planting covered commodities on proportionally to your 1923 planting. That's correct. Yield update is not included in this.
How are they gonna, per farm, if you got a farm with zero base, for instance,
Right.
and you've been covering commodities for X amount of years, how are they gonna allow you to build that base? I mean, is there a percentage of base that's gonna get allocated to each?
It's going to be proportional to what you planted in 1923 on that farm with no base. That's how they'll do it. So you'll get a percentage of that average for those 4 years. There is no yield update. Oh, it'll be the yield of your APH from 19 and 23. That's correct.
Follow-up question, so those 30 million acres, is that sufficient to cover the country, or is this gonna be
It could be. Some of the studies we've seen, maybe about 3/4. Some estimates we've seen, about 3/4 of the eligible base. If that happens, they'll do it proportional to that. So.
so if you have 100 acres with no base, early analysis suggests maybe you're gonna have 75 acres.
Possibly. That's some of the estimates that have come out on that. So that's right. Obviously, if you got a higher reference price, higher payments, obviously the current payment limits could be impacted by that. So the increase to payment limits to 155, that's indexed to inflation, beginning this crop year. It also treats S corps and LLCs like general partnerships. So, for example, if you have an LLC that's got multiple stockholders, 2 or 3 stockholders, you'll be able to get those individual stockholders their own individual payment limit. S corps the very same way. One of the things that we were very successful on, I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate Georgia Cotton Commission, Southern Cotton Growers, a lot of people in this room. About the Sunday before the 4th, that when the bill was on the floor of the Senate, Senator Grassley filed an amendment that basically would put general partnerships with one payment limit for the whole partnership. Get the payment limit from 155 that was proposed in the One Big Beautiful bill down to 125, and have significant enhancements in the active legal engagement requirements. We were able to, Senator Grassley pulled that amendment because of the active work of people in this room. We had, on Sunday afternoon, it was late, Sunday before the 4th, we got notice that Senator Grassley had filed this amendment. We were able to get 30 signatures of just cotton organizations across the belt in about 3 hours' time and get that submitted to the floor on a Sunday afternoon. I mean, everybody was engaged. I can't tell you how much we appreciate the support of Southern Cotton Growers, Georgia Cotton Commission in that process. That made a huge difference, and he decided to pull the amendment moving forward on that. One Big Beautiful bill also increased the marketing loan for upland cotton. That begins in 2026 crop to 55 cents. It sets the marketing loan payment rate for upland cotton to be the 30-day prevailing market price and amends the adjusted world price calculation. So we're trying to get that for this part for 25 crop. The new loan rate would be 26. But the way this works is the market loan repayment rate on Thursday afternoon at 5 o'clock, FSA posts the adjusted world price for cotton. There's 4 postings. Some months there's 5 Thursdays, but most months there's 4. If we get this reference loan rate increase to 55 cents, I'm going to give you an example, and you pop that cotton to the LDP, or you redeem that cotton out of the loan at 52 cents. It's a 3-cent gain. Of the next 4 reporting Thursdays, you will get the lowest price in that reported period if it drops below the 52 cents. So, for example, if you get 50 cents the next week, 49 the next week, 48 the next week, 47 the next week, your gain will be 8 cents. Your payment will be 8 cents versus the 3. So that's how it would work. And so that's a big deal. We're also going to use the 3 lowest Far East quotes instead of the 5 lowest Far East quotes in that calculation, which will be very more beneficial to the growers. Allow for LDPs and market loan gains more frequently. It also increases from 3 cents to 5 cents the economic justice assistance for textile mills. That begins on August the 1st, 2025. Now, I talked about earlier, we wanted stacks, and we wanted growers to be able to do stacks and PLC. What they did, the ag committees did, to put this together, They made a supplemental coverage option, which is an area-wide product that's similar to stacks and how it functions, except that SCO is 86% coverage level where stacks is 90%, and the subsidy rate on SCO is 65% where stacks is 80%. So stacks has a higher coverage level and it's more affordable. The SCO, which is available for any commodity, for most all commodities, covered commodities, will now be 90% with 80% subsidy, just like stacks. And currently you can do SCO and PLC. That's what it's going to be like. That's what it's going to be moving forward beginning next year. So I'm going to talk about what a big change this is. So if a grower had if we had this reference price in 2024, an Appleton County producer who purchased stacks on non-irrigated cotton acres and enrolled his seed cotton-based acres in PLC, and I'm assuming a PLC limit rate yield of 800 pounds. He would have gotten a $130 acre PLC payment and $142 stacks indemnity if he took 70% coverage levels. And that stacks indemnity would have been $202 an acre on irrigated. That's real money, people, and that's real money. This is a big deal for y'all. And moving forward, I mean, this is a huge deal. Don't take that lightly, the changes that happen with this one big, beautiful bill. So what about a 42-cent reference price? What's that mean for you? So example, on a 2025 crop, this is projections with a seed cotton payment yield of 1920 pounds. The current reference price projection right now for 2025, a grower will get about 64 bucks an acre if we kept the same 36.7 reference price. But a 42-cent reference price, that same grower will get 150 bucks an acre. And for this example, a 42-cent reference price would have triggered a PLC payment in 32 of the last 35 years at 141 bucks an acre. Again, real money, y'all. I mean, we wanted to get this thing as high as we could, but this is a big difference to your bottom line. So I just want to say, before I move on, thanks to everybody. I mean, this was a lot of work, from the economic assistance to ECAP to these changes in the one big beautiful bill. We got $90 billion in new money over the last 6 months for producers. And don't take lightly what everybody did. This is David Dunlop, our ACP chairman, testifying for the House Ag Committee last year. I got a call from a grower in North Carolina, Rob Fleming. He's on the bottom there about doing a cotton challenge. If y'all remember the ice bucket challenge, for growers to post videos and share on social media to talk about the dire situation and the economic damage that's being done to growers. And that made a big difference. It made a lot of difference in getting Congress' attention to get something done on this front. So a couple other important provisions of the OBBA. It ends de minimis globally by July 1st, 2027. It makes permanent the Section 199A pass-through deduction of 20%. It increases the estate tax threshold from $14 to $15 million for individuals, $28 to $30 million for couples, indexed to inflation. It raises the Section 179 expensing maximum from $1.25 million to $2.5 million. It allows full and immediate expensing in equipment and machinery. I'm moving through quite quick. I know I'm getting long here, but now I'm going to shift gears, talk about ECAP and SDRP, Supplemental Disaster Relief Program. So ECAP, y'all remember, that's the economic assistance package that was in the American Relief Act. That sign-up is ongoing. It ends August the 15th, and we're expecting the remaining 15% to be paid sometime after that date. There was $10 billion allocated for that program. FSA has paid about $7.9 billion of the 10. That was as of yesterday. Cotton received the highest per acre rate at $84.74 an acre. We do expect issues with prevented plant crops to be resolved by FSA in the second tranche. So if you recall, if you prevented planting a crop, you only got half the payment. So for example, if you prevented planting cotton, prevented planting corn, the corn payment was $42 an acre. You got 21 bucks an acre. 85%, 21 bucks is about 17, 18 bucks an acre. That's all you got. And if you planted cotton behind that, you didn't get the second crop payment. We expect that to be changed in the second tranche for a grower that PP'd a crop and then followed it with a second crop will get paid on both crops. That's going to be a good change. The Supplemental Disaster Relief Program is eligible for 23 to 24 eligible crop losses. Growers who had an underlying crop insurance claim due to eligible disaster will qualify for stage 1. So if you had a claim in 23 or 2024, you should have got a form in the mail, or FSA should have an application ready for you to fill out at the office if you haven't already done it. Just remember, to be eligible for drought, county must have achieved D2 for 8 consecutive weeks or higher intensity. I've got a lot of complaints about that, but that cannot change. That's a statute. But there are some other ways you can be eligible, possibly through maybe excessive heat. There will be a stage 2 sign up beginning early September for shallow losses. So if you didn't have a claim on a crop, but may have had a shallow loss where your crop insurance didn't trigger, you'll be eligible for that sometime early September.
The question nobody's asking in this room is, how is that going to work?
I expect it to be, based on what we have gotten, I expect it to be similar to the way the design is for the stage 1 program. It would be based on your underlying coverage level. So, for example, if you have 70% coverage, that bumps you to 90% by the SGRP factor. If you didn't have a claim, you might be eligible with that higher payment factor in place. That would make you eligible in a shallow loss. That's what we understand so far. These are the qualifying disaster events under SGRP: drought, derecho, excessive winds, related condition, moisture, flooding, hurricanes. To qualify for hurricane, you have to be a named hurricane. I know the hurricane claim came through here last year. But to qualify under hurricanes, you have to be eligible for a hurricane. Now, you may get under excessive moisture. If you had documentation that you can show where there was excessive rainfall that led to a crop loss, the county committee has the authority to look at that data and approve that loss. Tornado, wildfire, winter storm, those are additional causes. So stage 1 payments are based on the SDRP adjusted federal crop insurance level purchased by the grower. So that factor, which is on the right-hand side here, is based on your underlying coverage level. So if you took 70% coverage, 90% payment factor. 70% less to less than 75%. You took 75%, your payment factor is 92.5%. That's how they figure the payment. So the payment the thing that we've heard a lot of concern about, and we agree, you're only going to get 35% of the eligible payment amount in that stage 1. Now, one of the things I talked about earlier, this is in ERP, you had a self-certification process for your loss. So if you came in, you said you had excessive heat, for example, that was your self-certification. The issue was it had to match the claim on your crop insurance loss. So if you had excessive heat, you had to match. But if it said drought, and your county was not an official drought county, you didn't get paid on that. But this year is different. This program is different. So if you self-certify excessive heat, as long as you have the data to back it up with temperatures, those type of things through the loss period, the county committee has authority to approve that loss. That's a good thing. But the issue is it also takes up more money because more people are going to become eligible. And the shallow loss program is going to be a lot better than what we had in ERP. So that's why we have a very small payment factor right now in this first tranche of payments. If additional funds remain, FSA will issue a second payment. But the payment calculation, the payment calculation is the expected crop value times the insurance, the SGRP factor, which is on the right side here. And there will be the SGR payment will equal the expected value times the insurance factor minus the production value minus your net indemnity. And that's just your underlying indemnity. That is minus fees and your crop insurance premium. If you had an area-wide loss, tropical storm, hurricane indemnity through crop insurance, stacks, you get to keep that. That's not a part of this. It's just your underlying indemnity. That's a big win for us. In the past, through WIP, ERP, any area-wide indemnity had to be taken out as well. So the stage 1 payment, will be the SGRP payment times 35%. This is an example of a grower on the right side here that took 70% coverage. The projected price in 2024 was 82 cents. Harvest price came in at 72 cents for Georgia. If you had an APH of 800 pounds, the actual yield came in at 300 pounds. His expected crop value is $656 an acre. SGRP factor on a 70% policy is 90%. So the expected value times the SGRP factor is $590 an acre. The production value is 216. That's taken out minus 216 minus 223. So its GRP payment is 151 bucks an acre, and then when you do the 35% payment factor, it comes down to $53 an acre for this producer in this example. All right, I'm close to running out of time. I'm going to get through these slides really quick. We're talking about the strategic task force. Two of the things they want to look at is how do we expand cotton's market share into fabrics, everything you wear, wovens, those type of things, but also how do we incentivize the consumption of U.S. cotton? And this task force put together an idea called the Buy American Cotton Act, Senate Bill 1919, introduced by Cindy Hyde Smith. It authorizes tax credits to incentivize the consumption of U.S. cotton and cotton manufactured products. It's co-sponsored by Senator Britt from Alabama, Bozeman from Arkansas, Cornyn from Texas, Budd from North Carolina, Marshall from Kansas, Tuberville from Alabama, and Wicker from Mississippi. Eligible articles for this program include, but not limited to, apparels, home textiles, non-wovens, fully manufactured in the U.S. or imported into the U.S. that are made of in whole or part of U.S. upland or ELS cotton. The eligible taxpayer who qualifies for the credit is the entity who sells the eligible article in the U.S. in its final condition. That's who gets the credit. And whoever claims the credit, the entity that claims the credit, must be able to demonstrate proof of U.S. cotton throughout the supply chain through a trustworthy supply chain tracing system. If you're a member of the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol, your cotton is in that protocol is eligible for this program. Because the Cotton Trust Protocol uses textile genesis. So it qualifies through this program. That we worked to get this bill included in the reconciliation package, and to be honest, y'all, that thing was moving like a freight train. We did not get it included, but there are two opportunities we believe it's going to happen later this year. Jason Smith, who's the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, he's from a cotton district in the Boot Hill of Missouri. He is getting this bill scored right now, and he would like to do a bipartisan tax package later this year to include this legislation in it from the House side. We expect the bill to be introduced sometime after August recess. If that does not take place, the administration is also interested in doing a second reconciliation package. Not all the tax provisions were included in the big, beautiful bill, so there's some other opportunities there we hope to get done. We have two opportunities later this year to get this bill included. But the price formula, how it works, the tax credit equals 3-year average crop price times the price factor times the location factor. So there's going to be some incentive for this product if you're a U.S. If the yarn was manufactured in the U.S. and the fabric was manufactured in the U.S. So you get an enhancement, a tax credit by 1.6 for U.S. manufactured yarn, 6.5 by U.S. manufactured fabric to reward the consumption of U.S. manufactured goods. I mean, this Congress, this administration is very focused on enhancing U.S. manufacturing jobs in the U.S., and we feel like this bill helps do that as well. There's a location factor applied too. A 24% that's used for countries in which the U.S. has a free trade agreement. So, for example, USMCA, if that cotton is exported to Mexico, brought back in, it gets a favorable location factor compared to, say, Asia or something like that may not have that same trade agreement in place. I'm talking about MAHA, for example. The MAHA report that came out last month. There's some very disturbing, unscientific things, particularly in that report, particularly relates to glyphosate. Secretary Kennedy is targeting glyphosate. I mean, there's no question about that. Glyphosate has been a proven safe product since 1974. Our environmental regulatory standards are as good as anywhere in the world. We're very concerned about what this report and the goal of this report. Now, there's going to be a second report issued on August the 12th. I'll talk about policy objectives to try to achieve the objectives of the MAHA report. So we're going to be watching that very closely. We don't believe right now we're going to see too much on pesticides out of it, but we're very concerned about the direction. I mean, there's no doubt, you all know very, very well what Secretary Kennedy's job was before he became HHS Secretary. He won the very first glyphosate suit, Johnson v. Monsanto, back in 2018, a $290 million suit. He was the lead plaintiff on that. So his goals on this may not be scientific in what we need as an industry. We're very concerned about that. Now, I do believe we have an opportunity with MAHA. One of the things the Maha report talked about was microplastics. Now, it didn't talk about microplastic fibers per se and the damage, the health impacts that could have, but it talked about microplastics as a whole, as a damaging thing that could impact health. And I think we have an opportunity with that. Our staff met with Callie Means last month to talk about this report. And we talked about what we're working on as an industry, to talk about the health impacts of microplastics, how our consumers need to be wearing more natural fibers. And they were very excited about that opportunity. So while we are concerned about the pesticide front, we do have an opportunity, I think, to use Secretary Kennedy and his platform to educate consumers more about the possible damaging impacts of microplastics. Now, I've been around the room today. We're launching a campaign, Choose Plastic, Plant, Not Plastic, that will be launching next month. That we're working through a consulting firm, advertising firm called Hill & Knowlton out of London. We'll be doing some social media advertisements to talk about this issue. And most of you, I think, are doing pretty good today, but I have seen some polyester in this room. So y'all be checking your fabrics. Now y'all checking your label. I mean, I love a golf shirt as good as anybody. I can tell you that's what a lot of people I prefer to wear. But you can find a cotton golf shirt, and there's some nice ones out there. So y'all need to be checking the label. We're a cotton industry. Everybody in this industry needs to be wearing cotton. And your family needs to be wearing cotton. We all need to be wearing it. I mean, so y'all be checking. Y'all help this industry out. But there's some studies that have leaked out about the damages that microplastics may be causing. The Guardian, which is a London-based publication, talked about microplastics infiltrating the brain tissues. The Food and Wine talked about microplastics widespread in seafood. You know, we don't know all the health impacts of this, but the media and the NGOs are starting to put their handle on this. So it's something we have. I think we have an opportunity to talk about and educate people about moving forward. So really, I mean, this is something I think we have great opportunity. But we've got to grow our market share in cotton, but at the same time, we've got to grow our U.S. cotton market share as well. So thank you so much for the opportunity. I know we're a little long, but I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm happy to answer any questions. I may not have time for questions. I don't have any time for questions.
Oh, you got time.
Okay. But I can take some questions, but I'll also be around for lunch as well. So any questions? Yep.
On that Buy American Cotton Act,
Uh-huh.
why were those only Republican senators?
Well, we tried to put it in reconciliation. As you know, reconciliation was a very partisan process. So we initially had as basically a Republican bill to get it included in the reconciliation package. We did not get that done. So we may have a bipartisan bill done in the House. It depends on what approach Speaker Johnson and President Trump want to go in after the August recess. So that's why we did it that way. We've gotten some positive feedback from Senator Warnock's office, Senator Austin's office about it. So I don't think that they're not opposed to it. We just need to get as many Republicans as possible on the Senate side to try to get it included in reconciliation, which we weren't able to do it, but that was what the goal was. So.
Base update, we're gonna go through that like in the spring of 26 and that reallocation of that, and we have that base for 26.
That's the hope. I mean, we'll start seeing regulatory roll out of this hopefully in the fall, so we'll have a better idea. But I would think by the early in the next, by the time you do ARC PLC sign up, that'll be a part of it as well. Yes.
So the way they're trying to change STM to look more like stacks, are they gonna let us do 120%?
No, so they will not. The difference with SCO and stacks, SCO uses a county average yield, as you know, that triggers whether or not the AOI property gets to pay. SCO uses your individual APH. That's how it's going to work moving forward. You won't have the 120% protection factor. Now, if you want to, you can still do stacks. The stacks is not going away. It's still going to be there. But if you want to do PLC as well, you got to do SCO at the new coverage level. No, so SCO, another thing about SCO is you've got to have an underlying policy to have SCO. So so stacks, you don't have to have an underlying policy. You can just buy stacks on its own. So if you want, yes, that's correct. So if you want to have SCO and PLC, you got to have an underlying policy. The same parameters that apply to SCO will apply going forward. No. SCO will be a similar price to stacks. They increased the premium subsidy to 80%. Well, it was 65% now, so that it should be a very comparable price to stacks. We're going to work on that. That's our big priority. We know growers that took stacks this year. It could have been a base issue, but they took stacks this year. It wasn't as clear during sale closing date what was the best option. So if there had been a 42-cent reference price, it may have been a different decision made. We understand that. So we're going to work with FSA, RMA. We've already had some discussions with them about it. So that's what we're going to be working on. Yes, sir. Stan?
When do you think the second payment will be made on the ECP?
On ECAP?
Yeah.
I would hope shortly after August 15th, Stan. I mean, because they know. I mean, the program's already in place. I mean, it's not going to change. These issues on preventing plant, they've been knowing about those issues since the beginning of sign-up, so they know how they want. I think they know how they want to handle that. So I hope it'll be shortly thereafter. I mean, we were, to be honest, we're a little disappointed the sign-up lasted this long, because growers signed up pretty fast for this. We'd like to see it, maybe June 15th, but they kept it open longer. So, but I would hope shortly after August 15th, they really would. Okay, thank you. I'll be around.